Hi and welcome to this video. Last time we left off, I believe it was allowing people to upload photos. So today what we're going to be doing is creating, allowing people to add friends to their accounts, so they can have, allowing people to have friends. So let me open up profile.php. Okay, so first we need to add the add friend button. So okay, so I think I'm gonna have the button here right above the person's profile name, so I'm gonna put it in here. So I'm gonna create a form, and its action is going to be the page we're currently on. So we just need to say echo username. Oops. So now if we submitted that form, it would submit it to the same page we're on. So it's a self-submitting form, and the method is, as usual, going to be post. So I'm going to first create two buttons. They're both going to be submit. The first one's going to be called what do I call it? Add friend, and its value is going to be add as friend. So if we save that and go to the profile page, now we have a button that says add as friend, and if we click it, it submits the form, but it sends us to this page, which is the one we're on, so that means it's correct, it's working. So we can just copy this one, and we can change this to send MSG from message, and change this to send message. And now we have our two buttons. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is go to our database, and in our users table, you can see right beside the profile pic field, I have created a new one called friend array. It's I'll just go to structure so you can see, but it's just type text, I think. Yeah, it's just text. And so just create a new row called friend array, and it's type text. So once you've done that, we need to go back out of our social network database, and I'll create a new table. And this is a table that's going to hold all of the friend requests. So while before the person, oh wait, I don't, I'm going to import it because I made an SQL file earlier. So this will be in the description as well. So it's called friend. It's going to create a table called friend requests, and this is where the person's friend request will be stored before they accept. And once they accept, it'll delete it from the friend requests table. So in this table, we just have three fields: ID for the ID of the friend request, and it's auto increment and it's set to the primary key. User from, which is the person that sent the friend request, so whoever clicks add as friend on the other person's homepage or profile, and it's a varchar of length 255, and user 2 is just the user who the friend request is for, and it's also a varchar varchar of length 255. So now that we've created that table, we can start actually writing the code. So we can just put this in here, it doesn't matter. And what we're going to say is if is set okay, so what this says is if the add friend button is clicked, so if it receives data from the add friend button, if it's been posted, then we run this code, or else just do nothing as usual. So what we want to do is create a variable. Oops. And we want to create a variable called friend request, which is equal to post add friend. So it's just to keep it quicker when we're typing, so we don't need to keep typing this out. Okay, so now we have that variable. We can say user, which is our user2 is, we're going to create a variable called user2, which is the same as the field in our database, but it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be. And user2 is the variable user, and the variable sorry, that's wrong. It's user2 is the username, which is the variable we created up here. So as you always, oops. So whatever this value is here is the value of the username variable. So let me just find it. Okay, and user from equals user, which is the user is if I open the header file, user is the session user login, which is whoever's logged in. So this variable is whoever the friend request is for, and this variable is for whoever the friend request is, whoever sent the friend request. So we can just do a simple check here. So we can say if user equals, or if user2 equals username, then we just echo you can send a friend request to yourself. So since I'm logged in as Francis and I'm on my profile page, if I try to send a friend request to myself, we should get that error. Okay, yeah, here it is. You can't send a friend request to yourself. Right, so actually I'm just gonna keep it neater, and I'm just gonna create a variable called error message. So then we can say, we can just go in here, we can just say echo error message. So now whenever I refresh, okay, so to prevent this error undefined variable, because we didn't actually define the variable here until the form was submitted, so we just above this we can just say error message equals nothing. So now the error is gone. Click add as friend, and okay, actually, well, that's worked, but it just looks a bit weird, so let's just add a break in there. So if we try it again, you can't send a friend request to yourself. Okay, so it looks a bit better. So Now we've done that check, we can say, once we say that, we can just say else, and then we can actually add the friend request to the friend requests table in the database. So we just create a variable called create request, and it equals, okay, so it equals MySQL query, and we're gonna say insert into friend requests values. Okay, so the first one we leave blank because it's the ID and it's auto incremented, so we don't need to put that in. The next thing we say is, we need 3 of these actually. So the middle one is just gonna say user2, which is the variable we created earlier, which is the username, so whoever's profile this is, and user from equals whoever sent the friend request. So now we can just echo underneath. Now we can just say error. I know it's not an error, but we can just say use it, the variable your friend request has been sent. Okay, so now if we click actually if we click add friend, we'll still get the same error as earlier because I'm still on my profile. So if I go to another one, so if I click add friend now, or add as friend, right, so I change that to user and that one to username, and click. So now if I try to send it, it says your friend request has been sent, and I go to browse. Okay, yeah, that makes sense now. Okay, so the reason that didn't work earlier was because the user2, actually I'm not quite sure why that works. Well, it works anyway, so it doesn't matter. So we must have a problem up here where we've changed the value of the variables or something, I don't know. But whatever, we don't need to dwell over that, we can just move on. So that actually works now, and now it's in the database. So the user from is Francis, which is who I'm logged in as. The user2 is Cinema, which is the profile I'm on. So that means that's worked, and the friend request has been sent. So next thing we need to do is just create a new page, and gonna put it in the main folder. It's a .php file, so we'll just go to all files, and we're gonna call it friend requests. So this is the page the user is going to go to accept or decline any, or ignore actually, any friend requests. So let's go to, or let's first include the inc / inc files / header dot, whoops. So if we include that and we go to friend requests, now we just have a blank page, and we should still be logged in anyway. So that means we can actually continue. So create a new PHP block, and we're going to just comment it find friend request, because the first thing we need to do is actually check, does the user have any friend requests? So we can create a new variable called find requests, and it is also a MySQL query, and this query says select all from friend requests or user2 equals user. So where the user2 field, which is this one, equals the user whoever's logged in, which we said here. So in my case, it would say select all from friend requests where the user2 field, which is this one, equals Francis. But I don't have any from the other end, any friend requests, so I'm going to log into another one. Okay, so we'll go to the friend requests page, and we can't see it yet because we haven't told it to echo anything. So at the moment it's just queried the database, so we need to say create a variable called numRows, which equals MySQL numRows find requests, and then we say if numRows equals 0. So if the numRows if there's no friend request, basically we just echo you have no friend requests this time. So I'm going to actually log out, log back in as Francis, go back to the page, and that says you have no friend requests at this time. But well, that means it's working, which is good. So if I log, well, now we know that it's working if you don't have any friend requests. If I log in back to Cinema, we shouldn't see that because I should have a friend request. Okay, so it's blank because we haven't told it what to do if it does find rows. So what we say is else, and we'll just create a while loop, and we say okay, while get row equals MySQL fetch associate, or ASOC for short, friend requests. So it's going to fetch any friend requests we have in the database if numRows is more than 0. So if we have friend requests, it'll find them, and we just create a variable called ID, which is the ID of the friend request, which is equal to get row ID, and we just paste it in to a couple of times. Just paste it in up here. So in here, this one's going to be called user2, and it's equal to row user2. This one's going to be equal to user from, and also user from. So now we have these. Now we fetch the results. We just need to echo them out to the page. And I never really explained this, but what a while loop actually does is it just go for every, in this instance, for every row it finds, it'll run this loop over again, and it will echo each row. So if there was 2 rows, we would get one echo. It would echo the one row, but if there was 2 rows, it would echo both rows twice. Well, not twice. It would do 2. It would echo. It's kind of hard to explain, but hopefully I'll think of a better way later. But so user from is the user name of whoever sent the friend request, and we're just gonna say wants to be friends. Okay, so if we refresh this now, right, so I found the problem. So I just misspelled the variable up here. So it was looking for instead of writing friend requests, I wrote find requests. So refresh. And I just have to put it back here as well. So refresh now. Okay, so now it says Francis wants to be friends. And if we look here, it says user from Francis, user to cinema. So since I'm logged into cinema, it tells me Francis wants to be friends. So that's good, and that means it's working. So I'm gonna create a form now to actually accept the friend request. And its action is going to equal friend requests.php. Its method is going to equal post again, and it's going to have two buttons. First one, submit. Its name is going to be accept request. Okay, so I planned this tutorial out first. I wrote it out, and then to make sure it worked, I wrote it out, and now I'm just copying it from a screen beside me because it's a lot of things just to remember, and the chance of me making a mistake other than a typo are a lot higher. So I was gonna leave accept request at that, but I remembered that caused problems later down the line when I created it the first time. So I'm just gonna echo user from. Okay, so why I did this was because I was coming into a problem where I said if accept request. So like on the profile page, where is it? If is set post for add friend request, add friend. So when you've more than one friend request and you don't want to accept them all at once, what this did was I said if accept request, accept it, when you clicked that, it would submit, it would do it to every single request you had, even if you only when you wanted to reply to one person. So because they were all the same. So by adding user from in the thing, in the name of it, it makes every single friend request individual. So when you accept one, it won't accept the others. So now we just, sorry that was a bit long, but we just say accept request. So now we'll have a button, it says accept request, and if I view the source, it says accept request Francis. And if I had a request from another user in the database, then it would say accept request, and then it would say the other user's name. So that's just to stop us running into problems later on. And that's one of the reasons I sort of plan them out and do the tutorial, usually plan them out and usually do them first, the tutorials, because it means I don't run into these problems when I'm recording. So we have two buttons, they're both unique. So because we did that, I can just refresh and click on one, works. So because I did that, now we can move on and we can say if is set post okay, so we're gonna say accept request, but this is gonna make us run, this is going to look for any button that's called with the name of accept request, but as you can see, none of our buttons will because they're accept request and then they have the user's name. So what we need to do is we append the user from variable onto the accept post thing. So that's really easy. All we do is put dot. We just to append something in PHP, just put a dot, and then you append. Then you beside the dot what you want. So user from. So now to check that works, we can just say friend request accepted. And now it says friend request accepted because if we go here, the name accept request Francis is the same as accept request.userFrom because the variable userFrom equals the row from the database, which equals Francis. So now we know that works. We can actually move on with actually adding the user into the database, but this is we're not going to do it as a conventional update. Like, we're not just going to do it the way we normally would, where we just create a query and we just update the friend array row in the users table, because that would overwrite whatever was previously in the row, and then that would mean that everyone could only have one friend, and when they added a new one it would remove the old one. So what we need to do is I'll talk about that when we get to it. But first we actually need to create a query that selects well, actually I could actually say it now because it would make sense, I hope, anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two queries, and the first query is to just comment it, select the friend array row from the logged in user. And the second query is to select the friend array row from the user who sent the friend request. And we need to do this because what we're going to be doing, instead of updating a row, instead of just typing an update row or whatever, we are going to be concatenating the new friend's username onto the existing row. And I mean, we're going to be creating an array, and it's going to be separated with commas. And if we have a comma at the start of the array, and then we have, say, my username, we have another comma, then another username, then in the array it shows we have two users, because we're going to explode the array, and it's going to look for commas. But if we have a comma at the start of the array, it's going to think that's another user, so it's going to think we have it's going to think these are that the comma at the start's a user, my username's a user, and this username's a user. So we need to say that we need to select the friends array row from both users because they could have different amounts of friends, and we want to say if, basically, here's the logic behind it. If the user has no friends, we just concat, I just say concat for short, the friend's username. So then all that's going to do is just if the friend array is empty, then it's just going to add the username of the friend to the friend array. So if the friend array was empty and I had a friend request from Francis, I'm just going to it would concatenate the word Francis to the friend array row, and it wouldn't so if we were looking in a database, it would just be a row that said Francis. But if they already have a friend, so if they already had a friend called Francis, and we're adding another friend, and say this other friend was called Cinema, we don't want to just concatenate the word Cinema, because there's no comma here, so it's going to think that this is a user that Francis Cinema is actually a user, which it isn't in this case. So in that case, if they already have a friend, we want to add a comma. We want to concatenate a comma plus the person's username if they have if they have one or more friends. But we need to do the row for both friends, because if one friend has if one person's friend array row is empty and the other person has 20 friends, you can't just concatenate the same thing onto each person's row, because if one is 0, then you put a comma at the beginning, then it's going to run into problems basically. But that would only work if both friends have the same amount of friends. So I hope that made sense, but that's the logic behind why there's a lot of queries here. Well, there's 2, but they're quite long. So, well, let's actually get started. So we're going to create a query called addFriendCheck, and it equals a MySQL query. And this query just says select friend array from users where username equals user. So what this is doing is it's selecting the friend array from the users table where the username equals user. The user variable is the username of whoever's logged in. And then we say get friend row, and we're going to say friend array. So, no wait, I can't say that. So I left out a line, get friend row equals MySQL fetch sock. I always say that weird. And then we say get friend check. And then we can say friend array equals get friend row friend array. So I'm sorry this tutorial is going to run on quite a lot, but the friend requests system is quite complicated, because we're creating arrays, concatenating to arrays, selecting the whole array, exploding the array, and there's an awful lot of things that have to go on. And then we can just copy this and just paste it down. So we say add friend check, and then we just to make the variable different, I'm just gonna write username, I don't know, or friend, just say friend. So I just add this onto each of these just to make it different, because the they have to be different. So the only thing we need to change here is change the variable user to user from. So where username equals user from, which is the variable we created earlier, which selects the user from row field from the row in the friend requests table. So this one's going to query, actually, to keep it simple, since I'm logged in as Cinema, this query, well, all these 3 lines of code are going to check or are going to get my friend array from the database. They're going to get my friend array from the database, which as you can see is empty, and they're going to place its value, which is nothing, in an array called friend array. And then this query just does the same thing for whoever sent the request, which, if we go back to friend requests, is Francis, which is also me, but 2 different accounts. So just refresh that. Now we've got the two arrays. The first thing I'm just gonna comment this actually. Get friend array for logged in user, and then down here get friend array for person who sent request. Okay, so now we create another variable and it's called friend array explode. So right, what this is going to do is it's going to explode the array, but since there's nothing in my array, it might give us an error. So I'm going to, since I'm logged in as Cinema, I'm going to just manually add the name Francis to the array, and I'll do the same for Francis, and I'll add the name Cinema to the array. And this is basically what we're going to be doing, but it's going to be automated. Oh, wrong person. But it's going to be automated, so our PHP script will do this for us. So we'll just add Cinema. So now it's going to look like these two people are friends. So when we explode the array, we will get those variable or those values in the array, because there'd be no point exploding it and then explaining it if there was nothing in the array, so you couldn't see anything. So we're going to explode the array, and the PHP Explode function takes two parameters. The first parameter it takes is what you want to explode it by. So what delimiter you're going to use. So we're going to use the comma. So every time it sees a comma, it's going to put that in, or it's going to take it out of the array and then make it sort of its own string, kind of. That's not actually what it does, but that's just kind of a way to explain it. So that we just to create another variable after we've exploded the array, and I'll just show you. If we echo this variable, we shouldn't actually see the word Francis. We should actually just see the word array. Where is it? Right, so if I click this button, okay, so we're getting an error for undefined variables, so we just declare them out here. So that's usually good practice, but sometimes when I'm lazy, I just don't bother, and I just hope I don't get any errors. But in this case we did, so I'll correct it. And we see refresh this, see. Okay, I'll come back, I'll fix this and I'll come back when it's done. Okay, so that wasn't actually the problem. I was thinking that wasn't it. I wasn't really sure that was the problem. I thought it was probably wrong. So we just, once again, well, we could just keep things simple. I'm just going to change this to get, because as you can see, that was called add friend check, and this was looking for get friend check. So we'll change it here as well. And we click accept request, and as you can see, as I said earlier, we just get the word array. So we create a new variable called friend array count. And once again, I'm sorry this is taking so long. There's just so much to go through with friend system because of the amount of things we have to do and the amount of things to talk about, and because we've never done them before, so there's an awful lot of stuff to do. So if this function count is going to count how many objects are in the array, and this is the reason why in the database, or yeah, that's okay. This is why in the database, in the friend array column, it counts the amount of items in the array, but it would think a comma was, if we had a comma at the start of the friend array, it would count that as another item, and I can show that now. So if we just echo friend array count, oops, I need to echo it. So echo, now we should get 1. So yes, we get 1. And to make it easier to read, I'll just append a break tag on. So refresh it. So now we get 1. So I'm assuming, well, this is, I'm assuming this is correct. So if I was to add a comma at the start of it, the array wouldn't count that comma as a delimiter, and it would count it as a friend request or as a friend. So now we get 2, which is why it would count it as a friend. So I just need to get rid of this now. Okay. So now we have the query for the logged in user. We just copy this and change the name of it. So friend array explode, we just change that to _friend. Just once again, so it's different. And friend array friend array explode _friend. Okay, so that's a lot of it done now. So now we can just say, we can actually add the user's friend, concatenate the friend request onto the actual friends array table. So I'll just edit, or I will delete the I will empty these friend arrays so that we can add it with PHP and actually prove it works. So that's it. So we're going to save friend array equals 0. So no, not 0, because 0 is a number. So if that wouldn't work. So if it equals nothing, which means if it's empty, we just say friend array count equals count. And if I was to say count, and I was to put let me see. If I was to say friend array count, then what this would do is basically what it would do is if the friend array was empty, whoops, actually you don't need that. So if the friend array was empty and I said friend array count, as you'll see now, so actually I could just prove it. So I'll echo. So even an empty array still if you echo an empty array, you'll still get the value 1, as you can see. And that was whenever I was going through this, that was making all the scripts mess up. So I looked for a solution, and that's when I found out that even an empty, I realized why it was. Well, I found out why it was doing it from a lot of time spent looking over the errors and things. And I found out, that's when I found out an empty array still equals 1. So we need to say if the friend array is empty, we can't get friend array count to equal 1. So we need to assign it a different value. So we'll just assign it the value of count, and we'll say null, which is basically like making an empty array. And we need to do the same thing. We need to do the same thing for the other array. So the friend array underscore friend. And once again, same thing there. So now that means if the arrays are empty, they will equal 0 or null. So if we echo friend, if we echo friend array count and we click this, we should get 0, which is good. Which 0 is the same as null. It means nothing. It's empty. So now that works, it means we can move on. And now we can start telling it whether to concatenate just the username of the friend or concatenate a comma and then the username of the friend. So this is why we said friend array. We set the if the friend array is empty, we set the friend array count variable to equal null, because now we're going to say if friend array count equals null. So then we're going to only concatenate the just the friend's username, not the comma. So we're going to say add friend. We're going to create a query called add friend query, and it equals MySQL query. And we're going to say update. I know I said I wasn't going to use update, but we're not just using the standard update. We have to actually say update users, because we say update users set friend array equal to concat, which is concatenate, and here we give it 2 values. So we say friend array, which means keep the original value basically, and then we say the value user from, which is the user sent the request, and then we say where username equals user. So that's the query for, that's the first half of the query. So that's not really the first part of the query. There's 2 queries to do. There's the first one for the person for the first user, and then there's the one for the second user, because we have to update both of their arrays. So this is simple. We just change slight things. We change that to user 2, and where user equals user from. So now if we go here, oops. Okay, so if I refresh this just to prove that I haven't done anything, you can see all these friend arrays are empty. Okay, so when I click the button, accept requests, what it's going to do is add the value cinema to this user, the Francis. So it's going to add the value user into cinema into this array and Francis into this array without any commas, because their friend arrays are both empty. So we can also just add a confirmation message as well. So we could just say something simple, like, we can put it way down here. We just say echo, you are now friends. So now if I click this, we see now you're now friends. And if I go back to the users table, okay, so I'll fix this and I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so oops, sorry about that. So I have found the problem and yet another typo from me. So sorry about that. So we just put these here. So there's it. I think that should be working now. So if I click accept request, hopefully now we will have, yep. Okay, so now we have two things in our array. Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to end this video here because it's gone on way too long for one video. But don't worry, I'm not gonna leave this like every few, the way I take every few days I upload a video. I'm going to finish this friend request system thing over the next couple of days. So each day I'll upload a video, and I'm trying my best to upload them as often as I can. So I will try to upload them more often than I am now. So but that's about it for this video. So don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.